If you've ever read the book of First Chronicles and find yourself at the last chapter, you would come face to face in chapter 29 with a very unique story. See, what had happened was King David had set his heart to build the Lord's house. And God told him through Nathan the prophet, no, that's not your responsibility. I'm going to give that to your son, Solomon. David prayed about it, and he decided that he was going to do the best that he could to ensure that the house would be completed by Solomon. So David decided, I'm going to do my part. But my dear friends, when you read 1 Chronicles chapter 29, there is a verse that stands out throughout the process of putting the resources together to build the Lord's house. Here is it. Here it is. It says in this is verse 5 of 1 Chronicles chapter 29. David asks the question of the multitude, who then is willing to consecrate himself this day to the Lord? Notice again the word as we read verse 6. Then the leaders of the father's house, leaders of the tribes of Israel, the captains of thousands and of hundreds, and with the officers over the king's work, offered willingly. There's that word again. Verse 9, then the people rejoiced, for they had offered willingly, because with a loyal heart they had offered, here's that word again, willingly to the Lord. And King David also rejoiced greatly. After the offerings came in, and they had too much, actually, that's how good God was. They had not just enough, but more than enough to complete the work. David prayed a prayer of thanksgiving, and in that prayer of thanksgiving, we read again, 1 Chronicles chapter 29, verse 14. But who am I and who are my people that we should be able to offer so willingly as this? For all things come from you, O God, and of your own we have given you. And then in verse 17, 1 Chronicles 29, I know also, my God, that you test the heart and have pleasure in uprightness. As for me, in the uprightness of my heart, I have willingly offered these things, all these things. And now with joy, I have seen your people who are present here to offer willingly to you. The reason why this chapter is important is because we find ourselves in a similar boat. Well, my dear friends, during our last church business meeting, we talked about the house of the Lord, the church that you and I enter every single Sabbath to worship the only true God. My friends, we talked about the fact that our facilities do need some improvements. The kitchen, for example, we talked about during our business meeting. We talked about the fact that we're going to put some funds aside to ensure that we can get that kitchen remodeled. And so we've been looking into it. We've been doing some research, and praise the Lord, there are doors being opened. So I look forward to that being done. But we also talked about the big picture. Friends, we need to get the gymnasium repaired, and we need a playground for our children that utilize that space during school hours. My friends, we have decided during our business meeting that as a church, we're going to raise $200,000. But here's what I'm hoping that will happen, that the Lord will give us more than what we're praying for. Here's the good news. We met, not this past Sunday, but a Sunday before for our business meeting. And at that time, I stood in front of everyone that was there. By the way, thank you all for coming out and supporting our business meeting and the encouragement you've offered to me. My dear friends, I stood there and I told you that the Lord had provided $25,000 to get us started as seed money. You know what? Since that time, since my saying those words, the Lord has provided $76,000 total so far for our projects. I want you to be a part of that process. I want you, if the Lord is moving on your heart, to offer willingly to help us get to where we need to with regard to the gymnasium and the playground and the kitchen. We want you to support this. We're trying to raise $200,000 to finish all these projects. Now, in addition to that, we had decided and we voted that we we're going to take a loan to assist in the process from the Lake Union. That loan was going to be $150,000. But my dear friends, if we can raise the $350,000 to do it all, guess what? We don't have to take the loan. But we are doing our very best with the resources we have. We understand that we don't have all the resources in the world, so we're doing the very best we can. But let's strive to reach this goal of $200,000, and we're close. 76 is close. But let's try our very best to get the rest of the way so that we can get all these things prepared, and then we can dedicate those spaces and say, look at what the Lord has done. My dear friends, I look forward to that day. But you know what? We can make this temple as beautiful as we choose. But ultimately, what I'm waiting for is the New Jerusalem. The New Jerusalem, the city of God prepared for the saints, God's people. And, my dear friends, as we do our best down here, it is preparation for the New Jerusalem. I can't wait to be a part of that. Happy Sabbath. Thank you for giving me your attention for a few minutes here. And I just wanted to share the good news with you. And I look forward to seeing you at church tomorrow. God bless. Bye-bye.